Good evening, viewers and listeners. It is late. It is live, though. This is Seven City Shop Talk Sports Show, and this is a show that's coming to you from the state of Virginia to everyone all over the world. And as you can see, I got Ed in the building here with his Raiders bag over the head. But we got a great show coming up. And Jacquie Franciulli from Wahoos 247 going to give us the lowdown on what has happened with the transfer portal. Of course, shout out to the UVA basketball squad, the men's basketball squad, for pulling out a ridiculous double overtime win over Notre Dame after being down by 19 points. I want to say it's like I want to say it's the biggest comeback in team history, tied for the largest comeback. But we're gonna go ahead and jump right in and get this party started. I may have Wood and AB jump in as well in a little bit, but I'm gonna get Jacquie on here because we're gonna talk about this transfer portal and what actually has happened. Hey, Jacquie, how are you today? How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I wish a UVA team can win in normal regulation and not be as a close game. That would be great. But yeah, been good.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, it's the cardiac calves, I guess is the name, and doesn't matter if it's football, if it's basketball, whatever. They definitely keep you on the edge of your seat. But this episode is definitely dedicated to the transfer portal and what has gone on. Of course, as of late, we saw before I get started, I got to thank you for joining us in another episode of our brand of Dysfunctional Camaraderie. And as of now, this shop is open. But as I was saying, it looks like there was one transfer portal, and you called it a week ago or so, and you said there was maybe one spot left, and it would possibly be for a tight end or a defensive end based off of one of the players who transferred out, the young man from Kent State. But you called it. You got from New Mexico State, right?
New Mexican State, yes. Lucas Ungar. He was also a player at Stanford, so he actually knew Drake Metcalf. So they played together for a year there. So he transferred in. I figured they would want to add another depth piece in that tight end room. That was something that I had heard mentioned. And since they only picked up one tight end in Connor Cox prior to that, I thought, tight end would be someone to kind of look into.
Okay. All right. Well, I can tell you, it looks like it's it was a full transfer portal cycle for the Wahoos, and just as you had spoke before when we were on a few weeks ago, how it's very different from last year because you only have one cycle of having the transfer portal available. So kids took their time. The agents told the kids to take their time, and it really gave you a firestorm at the end, but it was slow in the beginning. Am I wrong? You can kind of fill me in on some of that information.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely, it took a little longer because guys were taking more visits because there was no coming back from this. There wasn't the spring portal to kind of save you if you wanted to go in there. There was also, it was more emotionless. It was, I don't want to say cold, but it was definitely a more business approach from everyone in this aspect. Less emotions on the table. Kids, you still wanted to close them before they visited other schools, but there wasn't much of that compared to previous portal cycles where you basically were like, okay, if he's visiting, he's got a 70% chance of committing because that means they're almost down to the wire of negotiating before they even visit. This time they were visiting, and yes, there was negotiations happening before the visit, like saying like, this is what we're offering. But at the same time, it feels like the negotiations were still ongoing during the visit and after the visit. So it was a little longer to get those signatures.
Absolutely. Now, for me, I kind of feel like, with spring practice already starting, some of these kids just kind of have to just jump in and get in where they fit in. Some of the, I don't know if we had any high school kids, any early enrollees come in. Do we have any early enrollees jump in?
Yes, we have several. So Alabama wide receiver from Hewitt-Trussville, Dylan Cope, is he's one of the early enrollees. Cornerback Jaden Colville from Oscar Smith, he's one of the early enrollees, and one that I'm pretty excited about. So is Tony Elliott too. He's an early enrollee. Dylan Beal, the inside offensive lineman, so a guard. He's also early enrolled. Jayon Williams from St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. He's also early enrolled. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think who else. I know I'm forgetting someone. Dallas Brannon, also early enrolled, and I believe Eli Hamrick also early enrolled. So there's a bunch of kids that are already on grounds, and they've joined like big 27 transfer class because Ezekiel Larry, who's a Yale graduate in the spring, will not be there yet because he's going to complete his degree at Yale before he gets to Virginia. So yeah, there's a lot of new guys stepping into that field. So spring practice is going to be interesting again.
So, now correct me if I'm wrong. That is one of the larger early enrollee classes that we just had. With a lot of young
I
kids coming
think
in.
I think last year was bigger. If I remember,
Was
the
it?
last year, yeah, I think last year they had 50% early enrollee in their in on campus and 50% enrollee in summer. So I think it's about the same. Or last year was maybe one guy more. If
Uh, okay.
It's a little late for me, so I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I believe last year had one more guy early enrolling.
The if you had to rank the enrollees from last year to this year, how are you ranking the early enrollees from this year to last year? Your
Trying.
personal opinion.
Um, well, last year you had a few guys who, I mean, Dylan Short was one of them. And he was one of those guys that you saw on the field on third down quite regularly. Corey Cosner also was a big impact guy. He played nickel. He actually earned more playing time as the season went on over Brevard. Like last year, I felt like there was definitely some impact kids that I thought, and even Josiah Abdullah, although he didn't play, I felt like he was one of those guys that the Virginia would have confidence if they needed to play him. They preserved his red shirt, but I think that was one of the guys that Virginia was pretty happy about. And Sishan John, he redshirted, but he was also a guy that Virginia has been really, really, really happy with. And they're fine. They think he can participate this year and make an impact too. So I thought last year's early enrollee class was very strong. And they also had, I'm trying to think who else in that early enrollee class. Jim Harris as well is an offensive line. I think last year's class was very strong. This year's class, I think out of the guys who came in, Dylan Cope would be someone who can maybe possibly make an impact early. Jaden Koval at corner could be also one that impact early. I don't think you have as many impact early guys. I think there's a lot of potential in development and just seeing where they go. But I mean, you also get a lot of guys that I think Virginia recruited who were sleeper guys in the class that I felt like, for example, like Dylan Cope was getting more interest after he committed to Virginia. Jaden Koval is obviously an in-state guy that you want to have in your class from a very big program in the state that is just knows how to win. So you have that mentality coming in too. That's something that Tony Elliott has said, that when you want to recruit guys that already know how to win. So I think both classes, or as far as early enrollee, have some instant impact guys. I think Virginia has done a good job of getting those guys on campus early. So I think they're pretty even. I'll just say last year's early enrollee class, just because when you're dealing with O-linemen, you don't expect O-linemen to make an impact in their first year. I just think last year you had more of those positions that give way to more openings to come in and make an impact, like a wide receiver.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes sense. That's always something you always kind of want to build your program on. But I've said this lately. I said, well, my opinion about it is I feel like the players that are coming in off of the street, meaning the redshirt juniors, sophomores, seniors, all those kind of players are the ones that are ruling the day right now, especially with the NIL and the transfer portal. Because I don't think you can really compete unless you can get a few of those kids and difference makers right in. The development, I feel, of the younger players definitely needs to happen, needs to be done. But the transfer portal, if you're going to compete right now, there's so much movement, there's so much subtraction and addition on so many rosters. You have to master the transfer portal and the NIL, I think, in today's game in order to be competitive. What would you like to add to any of that? And then also, if you want to go ahead and jump into the your what's been going on with the transfer portal? How many kids? I think you mentioned it earlier.
28,
And
yeah.
what do you think? Yeah, 28. And how many? And what your impact players are?
Yeah, sure. So I think I'm still not a fan of programs relying on the portal because it's such hit or miss. Virginia did a great job last year, but you have to rely that you have to bat nearly perfect in order for this to work out every year. I don't like you. I like a program to kind of stick to the portal. You still need to develop guys. I do feel like classes in the 20s as high school is not going to happen very often anymore. I think you're going to see like Virginia is going to have a class between 15 and 17 kids. And I think you're going to have more of these portal classes taking over a little bit. But again, I also think there might be a, a median when it comes to kids getting into the portal too. I mean, you're watching it right now. How many thousands of kids do not have a home right now and not going to be able to go to find a space on a football team and then not get that degree anymore? At some point, guys aren't going to go in the portal. Unfortunately, some guys are going to be pushed into the portal too. And you're also seeing kids in the high school ranks that are not getting those D1 offers like they did before, because they're being told, hey, we would normally offer you now, but you need to go to a D2, D3 school, play 1 or 2 years there, get good, and then go into the portal then. So it's changing how everything is being approached. I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing. The other thing is, you still have that 105 roster limit that you're going to be going with. Virginia still has a couple designated student athletes, DSAs, so they can go over the 105. If you had walk-ons previously, you can kind of grandfather them into that roster. So Virginia had a few of those. So they're over, like they're about 120 something, but most of those are that they're over a DSA. So right now, I believe they're at 104 out of 105. And that's questioning a couple of them that could possibly DSAs that I have on my worksheet of my spreadsheet of saying like a couple of those are DSAs. So I don't know if this is going to be something they do every year. I do say
Woody, right quick, one question, not cut you off, but is Woody still out there? Is he still, or he's just drifting?
who? Sorry, you broke up.
Woody.
I think Eli Wood, I think
Eli.
he's at Utah State. If I
Okay,
saw him, he went, yes.
Okay,
He was actually a DSA. So if he wanted to come back, he would not affect the roster numbers, or he would have been able to come back. But as of right now, I think when I look at Virginia's, I have my Virginia eligibility chart here. If you're on Wahoos 24/7, that's up there as well. When you look at what Virginia did in the portal, they really attacked the positions they needed after you're looking at some of the attrition they had. I mean, obviously the big one was quarterback, right? That was the biggest thing they did between Bo Prabula and Eli Holstein. Those two, I mean, what they did 2 years in a row is quite remarkable at quarterback. You recruited 2 guys from the portal with one of them understanding that he's going to be the backup this year. Because I know everyone, I think even yesterday when I was watching the ACC schedule release, they were talking about the quarterback battle, blah, blah. But yes, that theoretically there could be a quarterback battle. But the way sources have told me, Bo Prabula was recruited as QB1. Eli Holstein was recruited as QB2. Going to the spring practice, the presumption is Bo Prabula is QB1, Eli Holstein is QB2. When they negotiated with Eli Holstein, they said you are coming in as QB2 to Bo Prabula, and you would have you'll be kind of like the guy in 2027 because Eli Holstein has 2 years of eligibility left. That's why you saw Bjorn Jorgensen enter the portal, and you have, Go Gears probably your number 3 there. So that's kind of what you see quarterback, and that was masterful work by recruiting 2 guys that have starting experience, being your 1 or 2 guy, because Virginia in the last few years has really had to go dig deep in their quarterback position and ask their backup quarterback to play. So having those 2 is certainly a good win for them. And then I really like their running back room. Since they added Jaquel Middlebrook, Peyton Lewis, a guy from the state of Virginia, they recruited out of high school that first season that Tony Elliott was here. And then Solomon Beebe, I think, is the most underrated recruit on this transfer portal roster. I really like Solomon Beebe because not only is he a good running back, but he can fit into that slot receiver role that Kym Ross had. So if you're looking for someone in the passing game, so he's pretty versatile, and he's a good at the return game too. So I think he's the kind of the sleeper of the class. I think the underrated guy to watch. So that's why that's who I highlight in that room. I think Virginia did well at bringing in guys at the wide receiver room, kind of recruiting guys to fit the positions of need. Those fast, speedy guys that can do separation after the ball is catched, getting those underneath passes, what they've seen most success in, those meshes that you saw against Florida State. So those guys will be really good. I think winning Cam Courtney back was huge. Getting that in-state guy to stay in the state is good. Like we mentioned, tight end. The O-line is all about retention, right? I think in this day and age, you have to retain your athletes. So they did well there, keeping all the guys home, and added Alex Payne from the 4-star offensive tackle when he was a recruit from USC, and he still got 4 years of eligibility. That is the recruit for the future there. So that was really good, especially where last year you're saying goodbye to Mikhail Boley, McKeelan Thomas, Monroe Mills, and David Wallabaugh, and then Drake Metcalf and Noah Josie and Ethan Sipe and Noah Hart. So those are all 1 year left. So you're already planning for the future in Alex Payne. So, and then they added a center in Ryan Brubaker, so they can have someone there for more depth.
All those guys you just named are coming back, just to be clear.
Yes, all those guys are coming back. All those guys are coming back.
There was 5, 6, 7, or 6 guys for sure.
Yeah,
right?
so Ethan Sipe, as of right now, is coming back. There's some guys that, it's kind of one of those things where it's I get it as of right now. So I didn't ask in detail. I just know, like, as of right now, Ethan Sipe is coming back. That could be many things, like Jack Whitmer, for example. He is not coming back. He is not playing football anymore. He's going on to his career. Yeah. He was going to start his career. So you got guys that are kind of thinking about that next step. Well, guys who have been in college for 7, 8 years, they're thinking about their career too. Mm-hmm. So the O-line is mostly back. They did a good job at defensive end because that's where they lost a lot of experience with Mitchell Melton, Daniel Rickard, Kazim Moore. All those guys are gone. And even Jacob Holmes in the interior, he was one of the reasons why they were able to kind of get more pressure in the quarterback. He would come down in those short yardage situations, those third downs. He was really, really disruptive up front. So what they did, they added 3, 4, 5 defensive ends, including Devin Baxter, who has 3 years of eligibility left. They also added 2 interior defensive linemen. 3 interior defensive linemen, because Darian Henry Young, who I actually just posted an interview with today, he's coming from Coastal Carolina, and they actually see him more in the interior defensive line and sometimes at defensive end. But when I was talking to him, they said mostly kind of like a Jacob Holmes role, where he would come in those short yardage situations. So that's what Darian Henry Young said. So I actually have to move him to my defensive tackle position on my eligibility chart. At linebacker, I know I just saw someone ask about the depth at linebacker. Maddox Marcellus, that was a good win. He went to the portal. They recruited him back. I want to make it clear, Cam Robinson helped him get recruited back. So I know there's a lot of questions because there was no announcement that Cam Robinson was coming back, but Maddox Marcellus was recruited back by Robinson, among others. And Cam Robinson was there during that celebration, during that halftime thing on last Saturday when Virginia had North Carolina in town. Cam Robinson was on the court. Caleb Hardy is back. Landon Danley is back. They also have a couple of freshmen that they really are excited about, like Justin Rowe and Isaiah Reese. So I think the depth at linebacker is fine. They weren't pushing for linebackers to commit in the portal. They had a couple visit, but they weren't like pushing. So that obviously shows that they're content at what they have. And then as far as the secondary depth, I mean, the worry for me was safety, because you're missing on Antonio Clary. I mean, I have not been on this beat when Antonio Clary was not part of the program. So for me, that's definitely different. And obviously Devin Neal in his 1 year was quite remarkable. If you look back and look at the big plays on defense, yes, you'll see Cam Robinson, but you also see Devin Neal. You'll see his pass breakups against North Carolina. You'll see that pass breakup against Missouri in the end zone on that final play. You'll see Devin Neal making those big plays. They miss him. They'll miss Antonio Clary, and they'll miss Christian Charles. Christian Charles, I know he got a lot of hate in the first couple of games when they're still working this miscommunication in the secondary. But you look back on film, he also made some crucial pass breakups, and he had his hand on the ball, and he was always around the ball. he had some big, I mean, he was one of the reasons why they were still in it in the ACC championship game. He had one of those pass breakups, or he was positioned very well against Duke. So they were missing a number of guys at safety. So that's why they brought in Christian Ellis, Jalik McNair, brought Brandon Hillman back home from Michigan, added Jalen Jones. And then at corner, they added 3 corners, including Emilio Agard from Wisconsin, who has, again, 3 years of eligibility. The one thing I did like about this portal class is 3 of the guys have 3 or 4 years of eligibility left. And that's big.
That is
and then finally, I'm not going to leave him out. Wyatt Rubinoff, who has one of the best names of this portal class. He's the long snapper. I know a lot of people, when he committed, because he kind of broke the seal on one of the big recruiting weekends. So he was the first one to commit out of, like, I think a rush of 3 or 4. There were a lot of people in my mentions like, oh, yay, a long snapper. I mean, you guys don't care about a long snapper until you care about a long snapper. You know why you didn't care about a long snapper this year? Because Robinson did a good job this year, and he was recruited out of the portal. So Ryan Rubinoff is going to be someone that you hopefully don't care about too this year, because he's going to be doing his job. So that was a good pickup for them, because right now Stevie Bracey was their kind of like backup long snapper. Obviously, he went into the portal. And Jacob Tannenbaum is their backup long snapper, and he is a redshirt freshman this year. So having that experience there too is going to be good for Virginia on special teams. So I think I've covered all the positions. But yeah, no, they did a good job getting all the positions they need, and also leaving space just in case if they notice something during spring ball.
Well, I was thinking about, like you were talking about the DBs there. And last year, didn't we have 2 or 3 DBs that were out for the year with major injury?
Yeah, Jamarc Morris and Jam Jackson.
Okay, any of those guys coming back?
Jamarc Morris and Jam Jackson are both coming back.
So and those are starters type guys.
Correct. The only one that's not coming back is Dre Walker. So you got guys Dre Walker's the only one. But don't forget, Virginia has, the way they play, they have 5 DBs on the field at all times. So that's why you need those numbers. And they also like to rotate guys. If you remember this past year, they had Donovan Platt, Manuel Carnley, and Jordan Robinson all kind of playing together and kind of rotating in those 3 guys. And also at safety. The reason why the defense was so good was because they had so much depth at each position. They were able to rotate guys in and stay fresh, especially that D-line. That's why they were winning the fourth quarters, because everyone was gassed on the other side of the field. Their defense was fresh because they had the bodies there. And that's what John Rudzinski and them really like. So, and plus Jamarc Morris and Jam Jackson are both coming from ACL injuries. Depending on how your body heals, that could be a couple months, that could be a year. It could be, like, for example, that it could be mid-season. So having the Jacoby Henderson, having Justin Ross, having Emilio Agard there is going to be big for UVA.
I really love that, having those 2 guys coming back in addition to the guys that are coming. You actually it's almost like the same situation with it is the same situation like Monroe Mills, having him back, where they could have all ACC type of seasons. It's just, if it wasn't for the injuries, they definitely would be a difference makers. But having them guys come back and having them ready to go and for spring, and then of course for the regular season, really looking forward to them guys stepping up and contributing. So my guy from Michigan, the safety, is that a Jason Pavard replacement?
Not really. I think I think the Jason Pavard, it's gonna be Corey Cosner is gonna be your Jason Pavard guy. Amelia Agard said that he might play a little bit of nickel. So has Jalen Jones. I haven't seen Braden Hillman connected to that position, but yeah, Jalen Jones said that they were talking to him possibly a nickel. So did Emilio Agard. I mean, they like to have their guys versatile and see what happens. I mean, Jason Pavard was an outside corner before he came to Virginia, and then they told him to go in nickel. So I think spring is when they're going to learn a little bit more. I mean, Corey Cosner was a surprise for them last year. They didn't think he was going to be playing this early. They thought he was going to be a good player and an impact guy, but I mean, he took off.
Yeah, he really did. And then of course, well, I guess that means he's going to probably slide in where Neil is. You do have Ethan Minter coming back as well. And
Mhm.
maybe, and I mean, he, to me, seems like he's the impact player coming from Michigan and coming into a Virginia defense that, like you said, they really do a lot of different things, send a lot of different what we call packages as far as
Right.
tries to confuse the quarterback, and a lot of that is because of our linebackers coming, our safeties coming. They really do a good job of making it a hodgepodge of you don't know who's coming and who's staying. So looking forward to those defensive backs and what the what that room has to offer the team. You talked about the linebackers were pretty set there. The defensive linemen, about the rotation, I'm really happy with the rotation and the replacement, because that was, like you said, we needed to have bodies. And another thing is they stopped the run. That's another thing they had an issue with the year before. They couldn't stop the run. They really did a good job of stopping the run, making more of those teams one-dimensional, so that Coach Rudd could get some of those blitzes off, give some of those exotic looks for some of the quarterbacks. So yeah, looking forward to those guys. Now let's get into Peyton Lewis, my guy. I'm calling it right now. That's my guy. Peyton Lewis is somebody that I followed from high school. I really wanted the kid to come to Virginia before he went to Tennessee, and then after the year, and I saw him third on the roster, at Tennessee, and I'm like, he's got to jump in the portal. And as soon as I saw him jump in the portal, I said he's got to be a focused player. And he, to me, it seemed like he really was. And I think you reiterated that he went in the portal and 4 hours later he had a visit set. Is that correct? What
Correct.
you're
Yes.
saying? Yeah. And I mean, and I'm looking for big things from him. I think that he could be a program. As much as we love to run, I think he could be one of those program guys who could really make a difference and big plays. He was the third running back at Tennessee, and he had 7 or 8 touchdowns. As a third back on a SEC team. So I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, the Bo Pabula and Holstein situation, I think that we're probably, like you said, better off, in my opinion, than we were last year at this time. We got 2 quarterbacks with time under their belt, and then still, of course, one thing that made our guy from Nebraska attractive, because he had a few
Daniel
years.
Kaelin.
Yeah, there you go. He had a few years left. Now you have a Holstein who has a few years or a couple years left, I think, right? He has
2
a
years.
couple. Yeah,
2 years.
two years left. That's really exciting. Some of the guys in the chat, and then you may have answered some of these. Shout out to Shane Brown. He was saying, what are the 1 or 2 positions of need?
Moving forward.
Yes, moving forward.
Right now, I mean, I don't think there's any position of need. I think, I mean, they don't have much spots open right now. I think at Virginia is at a point where if they want to use their last spots, I mean, they could just do best available. I mean, maybe tight end, just because I know they just got another one, but because of everything that happened last year and how you can tell when Dakota Twitty went down, how different that offense looked without him, just because they ran less 12 personnel sets when he was out. I would say the tight end plays such a big role in their offense, and you can watch film on Bo Pabula and you can see he really loves his tight ends.
Love that.
So I could see them possibly adding another passing tight end. I think Dakota Twitty and John Rogers are have shown what they can do. I think Dakota Twitty has improved as a blocker, which is why he was so missed. I think John Rogers, that's still an area of the game that this offseason will be pretty big for him to develop. I mean, he probably thought he had a couple more games before coming on. Unfortunately, Dakota Twitty went down, but John Rogers had made some big plays for UVA as a pass blocker.
Absolutely.
So, and he also played hurt. So, so I think if I had to pick, I would say tight end might be a position. But again, I think Virginia's at a point where they're not going to fill a spot for a body to fill a spot. I think teams generally, I was talking to another coach at another team, And they were saying that they're planning to leave a spot or two open because after the spring ball, you're going to see like, oh, I need someone at this position after watching them interact. And then there's still going to be guys in the portal at that point. Just because the portal closes doesn't mean you can't recruit guys from the portal.
You may have also some guys get injured, and
Correct.
you may have to go out and, like you said, you're saving one of those spots. Somebody critical could get injured.
So,
You need to
right.
grab some.
So there's a rule in the House settlement and the way everything played out that Virginia can put a notice of like these players injured and will not play and kind of designate them as kind of like a DSA. So
Oh,
they
wow.
do not count as a 105. So that is just something that teams can do if a player is injured during like the spring or summer before the season starts.
Wow. Okay. They're covering all their bases. They're doing a good job. I really have I'm excited about what I see from the coaching staff. I know it was rocky there for a little bit, but it seems, and a lot of people and a lot of the fans have really gotten on this staff about uh, in-state recruiting for the high school kids.
I
But
think
I think,
they've done so much better on that front
yeah,
too.
that's right. That's right.
Virginia just had their first junior day, and they hosted several in-state kids. I mean, if you look at their 2027 class, 4 out of 5 are from the state of Virginia. You have 3 from the 757. They
Yes,
also
sir.
had the last Saturday, all of them were, granted, it's because of the winter storm too, but most of those kids were from the state of Virginia. You had 2, I'm trying to think now on top of my head, you had 3 from the Richmond area between Camden Shockley, Langdon Hicks, and the Huguenot safety. His nickname is Ziggy, and I'm trying to remember his full name, but I just call him Ziggy. So you have him who came over. Then you have, I'm trying to think who else came. You had Stanley Montgomery from Philadelphia. He came, and obviously a lot of the class members who came, the commits like DeMarcus Brown, Lonnie Andrews, all came as well. You also had a composite 5-star in the 28 class of Langston Pridgeon and his teammate Keefen Nolan, who visited. I mean, that's a very impressive. Savion Miller, that's who it was. So you have an impressive group coming in, and 4-star offensive lineman Junior Saunders from Woodbury Forest. I mean, you got a lot of in-state kids coming to visit and setting official visits. So that's good for Virginia. I mean, Keith Gaither and Kevin Downing did such a good job in the Richmond area, and now you're seeing more inroads in other parts of the state too. I mean, you got a kid from Northcross High School.
Right.
So, and I'm trying to think the last time, was it James Jackson the last time that they got a kid from Northcross?
I think so.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good that
Wow.
you're getting someone from the Virginia Tech area.
Yeah, along with Peyton as well.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
along
throw
with
that
Payne.
too. Keep throwing my guy out there. So yes, we had another question from our folks in the chat. Status of Xavier Brown and also Noah. What is the status of those guys? Our veteran running backs.
As of right now, I haven't heard them leaving the program. They're there. I know Xavier Brown. The last time I saw him was actually at the Gator Bowl, and he was moving around. He didn't have crutches or anything like that, so he was moving, and he didn't look like he needed any help moving. He had the ACL tear earlier in the season. I believe it was against Washington State. So I mean, he's moving. He doesn't have any assistance, no crutches. I didn't notice a boot or anything on his knee. But yeah, no, he's improving. Haven't heard much of Noah Vaughn. I know that during the season they did try to move him around a bit. I mean, during the practice, I know people, every time I said, hey, Noah Vaughn is available in the Gator Bowl, they would say, well, he didn't play. I mean, he was available if they needed him. So he was practicing at full go in Florida, I promise you. But so yeah, as of I am aware, they're both still part of the program. I mean, Xavier Brown was part of that ceremony too at halftime.
Yeah, well, I was, thinking from an injury standpoint. I think that they're going to be there. I was just curious about the injury, and I think, and Noah was still battling a little bit, even though he was available at the Gator. He was still a little gimpy, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, I think when you have the same ankle injury on it's the same ankle that's been re-aggravated. So they really are trying not to push him. So at that point, if they didn't need him, I mean, at that point, Harrison Whaley was doing a good job, and Zay Davis kind of came up and was doing a good job. They weren't going to push it on Noah Vaughn. I mean, they tried at Cal. They tried putting him in there, and he didn't last the play.
Yeah. So we're looking at, what is that? We got 6 or 7 running backs on the roster right now that are ready to rock and roll. I mean, we just said Zay Davis,
Five.
Noah,
Five.
Peyton.
Oh, yeah. You have 5 guys with 2 years of eligibility, and you have Zay Davis, who makes 6. So you have 6 guys with playing time experience right now.
Wow. That's really good. With the team that, as much as they love to run the ball, and of course, we saw, every one of the players who played got injured at one time or another throughout the season, in the running back room. So they need, that, the amount of running backs that they do need, because, wear and tear, they love to run the ball. And I'm just excited to see, how this running back room looks. And like you said, the one guy, even the young man from Middle Tennessee State, who also has a
Jacquie Middlebrook, yeah, he's really talented.
Yeah, and he's a great pass catcher. I'm really excited to see how they use him.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you remember how they used Jamari Taylor and Harrison Whaley, they used him in the passing game. That was something they really tried to do. And when those short, quick passes, when Chandler Morris wasn't getting enough time in the pocket, I mean, that's what they went for. So especially when they had those injuries on the O-line that they had to adjust a bit, or when they couldn't do 12 personnel as much anymore, those are the things that kind of helped Virginia stay at pace and get those wins.
And I think the screen game could open up a lot more with a kid like that, even though they did lose him.
No more bubble screens.
Not necessarily bubble screen, but more of a running back, coming out and leaking out, with the lineman leaking out, to whatever sideline, and the running back behind him, where it's a true running back screen, not necessarily a bubble where you have them spread out and then chucking it to them towards the sideline. I mean, like a really almost a play action running back screen. I'm looking forward to that, because I think having those, you got 2 guys who really utilize that. The one young man, Middlebrooks, and then the other young man who is a returner as well as a running back. Those 2 guys, I think they're looking to add more of that into their game plan, and that'll help. And with that many talented running backs in the backfield, it could be a better outcome as far as what this team did as far as on the offensive end. And like you said, Bo Prabula loves his tight ends, so I'm really looking forward to it. I just don't have a bead yet on the receivers, and maybe we'll come back and talk about the receivers a little bit next time you're on, because I really don't know exactly, or not familiar, with those guys that much outside of the young man from UCLA. So yeah, I love an opportunity to get a feel for them, especially when the spring game comes around. But this is great. This is great to see. I guess with winter practice going on right now, what is their schedule moving forward?
Right now, they're in the middle of winter workouts, and they can obviously get some coaches interaction now. That's one of the regulations for the NCAA that got changed with the portal, so they can have some coaches kind of teach you a little bit. And instead of before, coaches were really hands off. I think you get limited amount of coaches. I don't think it's a winter wait. I think it's between spring and summer. I think I was wrong. I think it's between spring and summer. You have some of the coaches interaction. But right now, winter workouts. So you get strength and conditioning working to the spring. So, I mean, there's some guys that are just getting onto campus. Some of them coming in last week. I know when I spoke to Christian Ellis last weekend, the weekend of the national championship game, he was driving from Jacksonville, and so was Emilio Agard, was driving from Pennsylvania. So they're all just getting in this past week. And then with the winter storms, probably things got delayed a little bit there with the winter workouts. But yeah, a lot of them were still making their way to Charlottesville. So so that's definitely still the adjustment period. It's just crazy with the portal. I mean, you come visit and then Bo Prabula, I remember I spoke to him a couple days after he committed. I think it was like a day or 2 after he committed. And as I was talking to him, I was like, yep, just trying to find where I'm going to live, trying to get my apartment going. And then hopefully I'll be there by the end of the week. So that was the plan for him to get there by the end of the week. So, I mean, it's definitely very different for those guys, especially because a lot of them are grad transfers. So the grad schedule is a little bit different. So yeah, no, it's right now it's winter workouts. I still don't know when spring practices are started. I need to ask again. Last time I asked, they hadn't announced the schedule yet. So, but that's the kind of next. Right now, the coaches are on the road doing some, because remember they can't be on doing in-home visits in December anymore. So they do that now. So that's why you're seeing those official visits. It's kind of getting locked in now because they're having those in-home visits now with the 2027 class. And then you have those junior days. So Virginia has a junior day on Saturday if there's no other winter storm coming.
I know we're supposed to get something down here, but you're talking about Bo Pribula and Holstein. One thing I like about them as well, they're definitely dual threat guys.
Right.
Like really dual threat guys. Not like, they'll scramble when nothing's open. These guys can actually run. And their stats show that as well.
Yeah, before Bo Pribula's ankle injury, I think he did it I think the ankle injury was during Vanderbilt. I believe his game against Vanderbilt. I think you really can see his potential with his running game and also adding that ability there. And I think when you looked at Virginia's offense last year, they were at best when Chandler Morris was a willing runner. You look at the games that they did. I mean, I keep pointing, the best example I can give you is that Florida State drive where they tied the game, I believe. And it was basically Chandler Morris leading things on the ground with Jamari Taylor coming up with some big runs. I mean, they didn't throw one pass down the entire field. I mean, that's when Virginia played its best. And I mean, even when you look at some of the biggest plays for Virginia in overtime, I mean, Chandler Morris set that direct snap touchdown at Florida State in overtime. I mean, Chandler Morris set up that Louisville direct snap touchdown in overtime. I mean, every time you can think of a big play on the offensive side, it often was a Chandler Morris run that ignited it. So when he went down with that shoulder injury that he played through, as you can tell when he was at the halftime ceremony, he's wearing a sling because he got that fixed during the offseason. You can tell that he still ran the ball, but not as much. And Virginia was even tentative on making a willing runner. I mean, against Wake Forest, he was out because of the head-to-head collision. So they were a little hesitant of allowing him to do that. But when Virginia has that ability to get the quarterback to run, their offense is much better. So having Bo Pribula there and Eli Holstein, both of them having that same capability, is definitely something that Des Kitchings really likes.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We had a question from Eric Thomas. He said that the kicker from St. Anne's, will he be in the mix?
Yes. So he's so right now, just as a heads up, there's technically no more walk-ons. So he's got a roster spot. So he takes one of the 105. So technically was the big thing with House Hettelsman. So, and he will have, generally those guys still are part of the rev sharing. But yeah, Tim Hammond should be part of he's there. He can compete with Will Bettridge. I would say Will Bettridge is still your starter going into the presumptive starter, coming into the spring and coming into the season. But yeah, he'll be able to compete as well.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be like a really good kicker.
He is.
Got to fill some people in on that guy because it was a big post made about it. There was a lot of hoopla around the pickup, but they may not know it, because he's a kicker. A lot of people don't follow kickers, but he fills
special teams, man. They never know about the special teams players until they really need to.
Exactly, until something bad happens. Fill us in a little bit on him so that the viewers and listeners can kind of get an idea who he is.
Yeah, he's got a leg. So that's from everyone from Charlottesville keeps saying he has a very strong leg, which I know is what most people are focusing on, is his distance and how far he can kick the ball. Now that is, the only thing you have to see is how can you handle it in a college football game. But yeah, he's someone that Virginia has been following for a while. I think the first time I talked to him, he was a junior, was when I believe I did my first interview with him. And Virginia was already talking to him. Drew Meyer does a great job of scouting these specialists and keeping contact with them. I think Drew Meyer is a very underrated staff member on Virginia's coaching staff. He's kind of the special teams analyst on the staff, and he does a really good job of recruiting guys, not only to retain them, but also kind of scout these guys from the high school ranks and also in the portal. I mean, I do need to single him out because he does a really good job there. But yeah, Tim Hammond he's got a leg, so I think that's something that he's got the advantage that Virginia has been looking for. Yeah, so I think it'll be a fun matchup to see, and also it'll be interesting to see how they handle the kicking duties, to see maybe if they do have a longer field goal, maybe they look at Tim Hammond if he shows any consistency in practice. Because you always have to find consistency in practice, right? You can have a big leg, but if you're not going to get it into the uprights, what's the point of having a big leg? So they're going to see it in practice. Because Will Bettridge, I know he gets a lot of heat from the fan base for not getting those over, I think it's 47 is his long.
Right.
I think it's 47 or 48. But he's one of the most consistent kickers in the ACC inside 45 yards. So you still have to kind of point to, if you want the guy, he makes those kicks within the 45. I think he missed maybe one or two within 45 yards this year.
Right.
So you have someone that you can count on in some of those big situations. So
also, you can give Sparky a break from kicking off, and you could have this young man kick off, because a lot of times
Elijah Slybeck. He did kickoffs and he's back. Elijah Slybeck is back. He's got 2 years of eligibility. He's going to probably be the starting punter once Daniel Sparks graduates next year. Elijah Slybeck did kickoff duties last year and then took over Sparks at punter last year. So I would imagine Elijah Slybeck will be the kickoff guy again this year.
Okay. All right. That'll be good to see. So it seems like they're stacking their deck, which is what good programs do. They backfill the roster. And like you said, you don't want to always see it where you try to live off of the transfer portal. That's like eating candy every day.
My daughter loves that. Yes.
You can't live off of candy every day, but you still got to backfill and eat your greens and vegetables, which are the lifeblood of the program, which are the young kids. So it's good to hear that. I'm go ahead and end the show soon here, because we were going to talk about the schedule release, but because of the double overtime game, we'll just have to get back at it, another day. But anything you'd like to say, Jackie, in closing? How can these viewers and listeners get a hold of you? How can they get to you at Wahoos 247?
Yeah, so all these stories are on wahoos247.com. Right now we're doing, because I know a lot of people ask questions of what the roster looks like when you post the transfer portal. So during every day since last Thursday, we've been doing a position by position breakdown of who the new faces are in each position group are, what they look like, what do they bring to the table. And then by the end of it, I'll be projecting a depth chart for the spring. I mean, it's just a very early projection of a depth chart. So that way people can get a good idea of what to watch, what position battles to watch when spring practice starts. And then we also got plenty of interviews with these guys. Like we talked to Bo Perbulo when he committed, why he committed there. Today, the story on Darren Henry Young, the defensive lineman from Coastal Carolina. We talked to him about why he came. So a lot of interviews there. And then also we are restarting our podcast. My plan was to do it this week, but then Mother Nature decided that it was going to interfere with my podcast coming back, and my kids are still home. And because the school is already canceled tomorrow, I doubt there'll be school Thursday or Friday. So I'm hoping maybe next week is when the episode comes back. And then whenever I have that, I'll be kind of breaking down a little bit more. And then we're going to have starting guests as well from some of these transfers coming on as well. We had to take a hiatus from the podcast because it was really hard to do a podcast during the portal because it kept changing so much. And then, as you know, it takes a while I don't do it live. So I record it and then I have to edit it and then I post it. 3 hours later, things a lot changes.
Right.
So that will be coming up as well. So so that a lot of stuff is coming on Wahoos 24/7. So you can, if that's usually where I would start, if you want to find, and then from there you can see all the avenues that we have.
Sounds good, Jackie. Sounds good. I appreciate you coming on. I know, the spring, usually the spring game is what? Late March, right?
Yeah, I believe it's going to be in April. So from what I was told, it's going to be in April. It'll be interesting to see when it's going to be. I know the Final Four is going to be the Easter weekend. So I imagine the spring game is probably going to be the week after. So yes, I imagine that's when the spring game is going to be.
Okay. All right. So, and we're getting to the middle end of Jan or at the end of January, so it'll be here before you know it. So,
Yes, yes. And we should be getting Tony Elliott. I mean, it depends on this winter storm if it happens or not. We should be getting him in a press conference for National Signing Day, as what was National Signing Day, which is the first Wednesday in February. We are probably going to talk about all the transfers that are coming in. That is the expectation, but we'll see if it happens because of all the storm and such.
okay. All right. Well, that is it, everybody. I can tell you, appreciate you coming on, Jackie. I can say, as always, it's a treat to get you on here and for you to bless us with the information, all the nuggets, like Eric said, nuggets of information of what's going on with the program, especially with all the changes and the new rules with the transfer portal. Nothing is, nothing is satisfactory when it comes to, it's always going to come out to, you know who's doing what, where everything is going, where all the players are, and you just never know. And having someone like yourself as an ally is it's great to have you on. But all you viewers and listeners out there, it's been great. Make sure you check us out every Tuesday, and also check out with the basketball program. We will get into a show as well about the schedule that was just released as well, and we'll speak about that and all the travels and some of the plans we can probably make as far as what we can do as far as getting some gatherings going on. But
And book that Tallahassee trip if
I,
you're planning to go. There's no hotels already in Tallahassee.
really,
Yeah, there's no hotels in Tallahassee. And then the nearest, I booked my hotel in Thomasville, Georgia, which is about 40 minutes away.
oh my God.
So yeah, book your tickets if you're trying to go to Florida State already, but look at hotels now.
Also, you got to look at Charlotte as well. We got a game in Charlotte, which
Yeah.
that's going to be a cool game as well, playing against West Virginia.
Yeah.
Then there's Brazil. So
Book your tickets for that one.
we'll figure that out. Are you trying to go to Brazil? Are you going to go to Brazil?
Maybe, yes.
Well, that's
I
kind
have
of that homeland kind of thing for you.
my mom's family is from Brazil.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, so they live in
Oh,
São Paulo.
I was
So
gonna
for
say
me,
that's yeah.
yeah. So that'll be a good for me. I'm trying to have somebody recruit me as a translator for UVA. I'll be like, just let me come with y'all. I'll be your translator.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, yeah. That is a home game for you. You probably heard that. Was like, what? Let's
Yeah,
go.
no, I had my family call me. They're like, "Are you coming here?" I was disappointed that's in Rio because my family live in São Paulo, so that would have been a easier trek. I would have home cooked meals done, which I never have on the road, which would have been very nice.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, Jackie. Love to hear that, and we'll get into it a little bit down the road here. But thank you for coming on, and thank all of you viewers and listeners for tuning in and hanging out with us. But as of now, get some rest because this shop is closed. Thank you guys, and we will see you in a little bit. Bye bye, and good